Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. It took a little bit of setup for me to be ready to start the meeting. I want to welcome everyone, both in the chambers and online today. The April 10th, 2025 System Expansion Committee meeting is hereby called to order. My name is Claudia Balducci. I'm the System Expansion Committee Chair. And again, welcome everyone attending the meeting both in person and on Zoom. For committee members joining through Zoom, we ask that you please keep your camera on, and please remember to state your name prior to making comments or asking questions so that everyone knows who's speaking at all times. I will try to do that myself. And just for purposes of the record, I'm calling in from Denver, where I am visiting with family in advance of a wedding. All right, so I'm glad to be with you today. Alejandro, would you please call the roll?
Nancy Backus.
Here.
Board Member Backus is present. Angela Burney.
Here.
Board Member Burney is present. Cassie Franklin.
Here.
Board Member Franklin is present. Bruce Harrell.
Here.
Board Member Harrell is present. Ryan Mello. Kim Roscoe.
Here.
Vice Chair Roscoe is present. Dave Summers.
Here.
Board Member Summers is present. Dan Strauss. And Claudia Balducci.
Here.
And Madam Chair, a quorum of the committee is present at this time.
All right, thank you very much. Just a brief report from the chair. First of all, a note on the agenda, just for everyone to know, we are working from a revised agenda today. Motion number M 2025-16 was removed from the agenda, and motion number M 2025-17 was added. We're going to hear about both of these later in the meeting, but just for awareness. This is Jeroen Sparman's last SEC meeting. I don't know if I see him here. Are you with us, Jeroen? Are you in the chambers?
I'm actually here, Chair
good.
Balducci.
All alone, sorry. Nice to see you from a distance. And just so everyone knows, we were going to have a formal recognition for Jeroen's amazing service to this body at our April full board meeting, but I wanted to acknowledge that at this committee, Jeroen has been just a stalwart. For over a year now, he's helped shepherd us through a time of transition and challenges and has done an incredible job of it. And I'm very glad that he got to be with us to celebrate and oversee a series of successful project openings. So it was not all labor and challenges. It was also some celebration and joy. And it's just been amazing to work with you, Jeroen, in this role. And I want to thank you on behalf of this committee for your work and wish you the best as you slowly transition into a very well-deserved retirement. But we'll see you at the next meeting. So this isn't goodbye. It's just your last SEC meeting. All right. Let's then move into the CEO report. Please go ahead, Mr. Sparman.
Well, thank you, Chair Balducci, and thank you for those very kind words. If it's some trepidation now, I'm looking forward to the full board meeting on April 25th, I guess it is. But yes, I'm saying my goodbyes at that point. But anyway, so today I do have a couple of comments under the CEO report part of the agenda. So first, I want to talk about good news, and I have experienced quite a few very pleasant things to be part of during my last year here at Sound Transit. And one more thing is happening in a couple of weeks. I want to remind the board and the public that the Downtown Redmond Link Extension project is opening in just a few weeks. On May 10th, Sound Transit plans to open 2 new stations, which takes us into downtown Redmond, extending the current 2-line operations further east towards Merrimore Park and Redmond's downtown core. We invite you, including the public, of course, to attend the day's festivities, which will include a ribbon cutting ceremony starting at 10:30 a.m. at the downtown Redmond station. We anticipate the first trains to leave downtown Redmond at noon, immediately following the ribbon cutting ceremony. Opening day festivities will continue at both downtown Redmond station and the Merrimore Village station until about 4 p.m., 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We are Sound Transit. We are partnering with local nonprofits to help amplify our opening day activities, ensuring a fun, equitable, engaging, and hopefully a very lively celebration. And all of the day's festivities will, of course, be open to the public at large. After all, the public is the centerpiece of who we're trying to reach to celebrate this success. We have also extended invitations to our congressional delegation, state elected leaders, and regional stakeholders to join us on May 10th. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing many of them there as well. An additional good news item is the awards that we keep winning as part of the Linwood Link Extension project. So the Linwood Link Extension team, including the contractor, designer, construction management consultant, and of course our own staff, have won the International Partnering Institute's 2025 John L. Martin Partnering Project of the Year Award for their work on the northern part of the project. This award recognizes teams who distinguish themselves by implementing best practices and by fostering high trust and collaborative relationships on their projects. In the word of Executive Project Director Josh Patigas, not only did the team perform well and hit all the marks, they did it by being collaborative, professional, cooperative, consistent, and really fostered a project-first mentality. So my attaboys to that whole very large team for the success in delivering that project. Another additional good news item has to do with our Sumner Sounder station. The Federal Transit Administration has approved a NEPA, a National Environmental Policy Act, re-evaluation for the Sumner Station Parking and Access Improvement Project. The project, in addition to others on the Sounder South Line, will improve access to the stations for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Environmental review for the project was completed in 2016 in compliance with both NEPA and SEPA requirements. But since then, the project design has advanced through coordination with local partners, such as City of Sumner, Pierce Transit, and Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, and design refinements were added to provide additional surface parking spaces and further enhance station access. With this FTA approval, we will continue to advance the project with construction expected to begin this summer. And my last item I want to make a couple of quick comments about is that, as you see in the chair report, our capital delivery team is returning with a system expansion monthly report after launching it in advance of last month's meeting. We have added an executive summary to this report to address some concerns we heard from the committee members about wanting a digestible, quick-to-read update while also having access to the in-depth information as a reference. So we really appreciated that feedback. We've taken that action to try to respond to that. And we, of course, continue to welcome your feedback on an ongoing basis to make sure that we are producing a quality report that supports and meets the committee members' needs. So my thanks to Terry Mestas and her team for taking that action. And Deputy CEO Terry Mestas will speak more to this report later in the meeting today. And that concludes my last CEO report to this System Expansion Committee. Thank you. And with that, I'll hand it back to Chair Balducci. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Duran. Are there any questions for the CEO? All right, seeing none, let's move into the remainder of our meeting. Next is public comment. And as we say each month, the System Expansion Committee welcomes public comment and is an important part of our public deliberations. Comments are received and considered by the committee in our process. I'll now ask Alejandro to please share the types of comments that were received for today's meeting.
Chair Balducci, we did receive written public comment that I will read into the record after this, and we have 4 individuals signed up here in the North Fisher Boardroom with 0 virtual public commenters.
Okay. Would you please go ahead and read the written public comments?
From Fernando Robles Munoz and Jake Larson, submitting a form letter urging the board to cease the planning for a new Ballard to downtown environmental impact statement. Also from Jake Larson, submitting a form letter asking the board to uphold the ST3 plan by building the 4th Avenue and Midtown stations. From Donna Popich, Terry Skidmore, Marilyn Kennel, Kirsten Whitmore, Martin Westerman, Candace Shattuck, and Jan Roberts, asking the board to vote no on resolution number R 2025-10 as to not advance the West Seattle Link Extension project into the final design phase. From Jack Wisner, asking the board to table resolution number R 2025-10 until more cost and feasibility information is known of the Ballard Link extension and to consider using existing resources like the downtown Seattle Transit Tunnel for more effective interim transit improvements. From William Terrence, opposing the Graham Street and Boeing Access Road infill stations due to concerns about at-grade train safety and the lack of connection to Sounder South at Boeing Access, while suggesting alternative solutions for both stations. From Betty Lau, voicing support for 4th Avenue Station for its accessibility and sharing concerns about a lack of transparency regarding conflicting reports and delayed information. From Katrina Hotch, providing comments related to the Chinatown International District Station. I will note for committee members that we received her comments via an inaccessible means. We have our staff, we're reaching back out there to hopefully get the substance of her comments. When that is received, we will send it out and also be sure it's posted publicly. From Brian Chow, noting a 4th Avenue Station as a historic opportunity to enhance Seattle's transit infrastructure while offering minimal disruption. From Robert M. Williams on behalf of the Rainier Valley Community Development Fund, seeking collaboration with the agency and City of Seattle to support and mitigate impacts of the West Seattle and Ballard link extensions. From Mary Kate Ryan, asking the board to advocate for at least a 90-day comment period for the Ballard Link Extension DEIS, as well as provide translated materials and resources for language access throughout the process. And lastly, from Candace Shattuck, asking the committee to vote no on motion number M 2025-17, an action to execute a contract for phase 1 design services for the West Seattle Link extension.
Thank you for that summary, Alejandro. And for the record, all the comments provided in writing will be posted on the Sound Transit website following the meeting so that they may be reviewed by the public. And hopefully we will have resolved the format problem with the one that we can't view so that that one can be made communicated to the board and to the public. All right, now we'll move into public comment taken in the boardroom. All commenters will have 2 minutes to speak. Please make sure your comments are germane to the either items on our agenda or items within this committee's purview, which is the capital programs for Sound Transit. We ask that speakers refrain from making introductory statements or derogatory remarks, from using profanity or personal attacks not germane to an agenda item. And you must not make statements related to a political campaign or for or against any candidate or ballot measure. We expect no problems, but if anybody does violate the rules, I will have to ask for their microphone to be turned off. And now let us proceed with in-person public comment. Please go ahead.
Our first 3 commenters are Robert Williams, Brian Chow, and Betty Lau.
Is that better?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Robert Williams. I'm Regional Manager of Planning and Community Development at Rainier Valley Community Development Fund. I have one of my colleagues, Paul Pitkins, and he's Director of Fund Development at Rainier Valley Community Development Fund. As I'm sure the board and committee members know, the Sound Transit has spent the last 3 decades connecting and transforming communities across the Puget Sound. Through construction and expansion of the light rail, Sound Transit has further transit-oriented development, affordable housing, community spaces, and regional growth. The Link Light Rail system benefits communities. It connects greatly, but its extensions also include certain impacts. Major construction projects, while they provide incredible opportunities for development, they also inevitably disrupt local business organizations and residents. The light rail system is the catalyst of the work at the Rainier Valley Community Development Fund, the fund in Southeast Seattle. The fund was founded in late 1990s, direct response to light rail's expansion above grade in the Rainier Valley. The fund has worked for over 25 years to provide mission-driven lending to small businesses and organizations in transit-affected corridors. Since 2000, we have worked with Sound Transit, the City of Seattle, and King County to provide mitigation and loan funds to those impacted by light rail expansion. These partnerships have been crucial in providing necessary community support. As the West Seattle and Ballard Link extensions move forward, we would like to work with Sound Transit and the city to be a resource. We would like to ensure a well-informed, engaged community and offer other services to any other impacted in these construction projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask that you please leave your contact information with Alejandro so that we can be in touch? I'd love to have more
Yes.
conversation about what you're bringing to us today.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Chow, co-founder of Transit Equity for All. The Fourth Avenue Regional Station represents a historic opportunity to revolutionize Seattle's transit infrastructure. You, the board, recognizes the station selections for the CID segment should be one that will enhance the regional light rail network for the next 200 years. Mayor Bruce Harrell says it is a once-in-a-generation investment in our future. I'm speaking of the Fourth Avenue alignment, which minimizes community disruption, displaces zero residents and small businesses, while connecting a community of color to the entire system. In contrast, the south of CID alternative is useless. Consultant VMS states in the Fourth Avenue Shallow Alignment Schedule Analysis Study, the south of CID alternative does not provide good connectivity between the light rail lines to the heavy rail corridor or to a major employment center. It is unclear what advantage of this location is from a utility standpoint. And the north of CID station is not the best choice. Only Fourth Avenue connects all three lines for maximum connections and accessibility. Please, board members, make the right decision to move forward on Fourth, because your decisions will basically last for 200 years. We need an efficient transit network. Thank you.
I'm Betty Lau. On March 27, I was thrilled to hear board member Mayor Franklin speak of completing the spine and heralding transparency and accountability. CID seniors filled this room to support the station that gives us the most accessibility and connectivity, Fourth Avenue. But things are not adding up here. One, the Sound Transit VMS consultant says to collaborate and work with the railroads early, but there's the independent report that says that's too hard. Two, the VMS consultant says that north of CID station is only second best. Three, the same consultant says south of CID station doesn't connect to anything. So he doesn't understand why it's even being considered. Yet there's a so-called independent report that is so against the voter-approved Fourth Avenue station that one has to wonder why brilliant engineers and brilliant leadership didn't disclose it in the 2022 DEIS when Sound Transit said we had a choice of fourth or fifth, and community and the public overwhelmingly chose fourth. The VMS report was hidden from us for a year as we pleaded for information during 2 years of delay. Please do the right thing for everyone and keep the promise of racial, social, and economic benefits from light rail for the CID and the region. Thank you. I'm Betty Lau, Transit Equity for All, board member of the Zhonghua Benevolent Association and a member of the Citizens Accessibility Advisory Committee. Please think about those with disabilities as you add to their transfers, the travel time, and the backtracking. Please consider us elderly. Thank you.
Our final commentator today is Daisy Goldwong.
Unlike the vast majority of board members, I have to worry about how to get around. Because of that, the Ballard Link extension is very important to me. With over 550,000 projected daily riders after ST3 is completed, Sound Transit will have the third highest mass transit ridership in the country behind only New York and Los Angeles. That's higher than MARTA in Atlanta, BART in San Francisco, the L in Chicago, and it's higher than the DC Metro. ST3 was passed with the promise of a new downtown tunnel station at Chinatown, a station to seamlessly tie everything together into one hub. There are only two options that give us the hub we voted for, and neither of them is the current preferred alternative. There's 4th Avenue Shallow, wedged between Sounder and the existing station, and there's 5th Avenue Shallow Diagonal on the other side of the existing station. 4th Avenue Shallow seems like the obvious choice, but it comes with absurd costs and delays and unwanted detours through the CID. 5th Avenue Shallow Diagonal makes clever use of existing parking lots to minimize disruptions. Only 3 buildings would be removed, all single-story with no residential or historic impacts. Now, I shouldn't have to be telling you this, but do I? I've been to every open house and every workshop. I've talked to a lot of people, including former CEO Julie Tim. Some prefer 4th, some prefer 5th, but all of us have one thing in common. We do not want north-south. Many community members have been giving you reason after reason why north-south is a bad option. I really hope you're listening. Later this year, you'll have the opportunity to change the preferred alternative. Do it.
Madam Chair, there's everybody who has signed up for public comment today.
Thank you very much. And since we have no one online for public comment, we will now move to item 6 on the agenda and close public comment. Thank you, everyone who came today to speak to us. All right, so item 6 is an update on our system expansion program reporting. As the CEO mentioned, and as I mentioned earlier, the Capital Delivery Team is launching a monthly status report on system expansion. This started last month. The committee received reports in writing in January and February in advance of our meetings. There are also abbreviated versions of those reports in the packet. I'd like to first call on our Deputy CEO for Capital Delivery, Terry Mestis, to say a few words about the new reports, and then we can open the floor for any questions or comments from members. Please go ahead, Director Mestis.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. A quick update on our System Expansion Committee monthly status report, and a quick recap on what we shared at the last committee meeting about the report. So this report captures previous information in progress reports that the committee has seen before, as well as the performance tracker. It also includes the status of projects, KPIs on the projects, key performance indicators, as well as information at the programmatic level and accomplishments for that particular reporting month. In addition to being in your packets today, the reports are available online. The link to the site where the reports can be found are included in your System Expansion Committee mailing material and will be on the agenda going forward, so those should be much easier to locate. We are going to continue improving the reporting, especially as we bring on our new project management information system and work with our partners within Sound Transit, and also looking forward to getting feedback from the committee. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll start. I just think it's important that we continue to have reports at the committee about the status. Until relatively recently, we had regular reports that were more in-depth, and we would review the monthly reports, and I want to continue to do that. I want us to actually speak about what is on the monthly reports with a focus on anything new, with a brief presentation. That's important to me to for transparency to the committee and the public. And then occasionally we would have, like, I think quarterly or less frequently, we would have in-depth reports on an item, like projects under construction. And we'd have somebody come in and sort of do a review of the projects that were in construction, projects in planning, a review of all the projects in planning, et cetera. So I want to get back into the habit and the cadence of having regular reports to the committee. It's we haven't done it in quite a few months now. And so that's my request. And I want to make sure that we get those on the agenda starting next month, because I've been asking for a few months now, and we've sort of been working towards this new written monthly report. But next month, I want us to go back to the cadence of having verbal reports with PowerPoints, and, and we can talk about the exact how of it when we plan for the meetings, but that's my request. Any other questions or comments from members? All right. Thank you very much. Look forward to continuing.
Chair Balducci.
Yes, please go ahead, Jerome. Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that we heard you loud and clear, and actually we'll be working with Deputy CEO Mestas to make sure that we do that. You're right that there's been a few months where we weren't bringing project information to you in the fashion that you just described, and we need to get back on track on doing that. And I see head nodding from our team here. So we'll make sure that happens. We frankly wanted to do that today, but the calendar got very full.
Yeah.
So at the next month's meeting, you can expect a much more detailed project report.
Excellent. And very on topic. We will now move to action items, and we do indeed have a long list of them today. So we wouldn't have had a lot of time for briefings in any event. There are 10 business items on the agenda today, 2 for committee final action, 8 for recommendation to the board. Let's start right away with item 7A, which is the minutes of our system expansion committee meeting. They are in our packets today. Hopefully people have had a chance to look at them. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 13th?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes from the March 13th, 2025 System Expansion Committee meeting. This is Backus.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Bernie, I'll second.
Thank you. They are before us. Any comments, questions, or changes to the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The minutes are approved unanimously. And now we'll move to item 6B, also for final passage by the committee. This is resolution R 2025-07, and it is regarding an acquisition of mobile homes on property to be acquired for purposes of the operation and maintenance facility south. I'd like to call on Michael Morgan, Executive Director in the Capital Delivery Department, to kick off the staff presentation. Welcome, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Michael Morgan, and I'm the Executive Director of the Capital Delivery Department. I'm currently leading a portfolio of projects, which includes the Operation and Maintenance Facility South project. With me today are Bernadette McDermott, Executive Director for the Center of Excellence, and Clint Dameron, Acting Director of Real Property. Next slide, please. We are here today to request authorization for a number of actions. First, for additional approval to dispose of surplus mobile homes, ratification of statutory notification regarding additional property interests, and authorization for acquisition of 2 additional properties. So there's a lot there, but just by way of reminder, the new OMF South facility will be located south of the future Federal Way Station, as shown on the map on the upper right. So just in that map, just to describe a little bit further, you can see the final little dot at the top of the page is Federal Way Downtown Station. So that's the station where we happily opened the bus loop up a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to extend that guideway down through to the south to the new facility at the bottom of the page. So you go to the next slide, please. The final facility will be used to provide a home base for up to 144 Link light rail vehicles. The facility will be used for cleaning, inspections, and maintenance of the vehicle fleet. The facility will also serve as a starting point for Link operators and will provide secondary facilities for infrastructure staff. Staff are currently in the process of looking across the complement of existing and future sites to understand what opportunities exist to optimize maintenance functions across the various locations by treating the sites as a network of facilities rather than as discrete individual locations. Later this spring, we expect to go to market for the procurement of a development partner to support the final design effort and preparations for construction. My team expects to be back on the SCC agenda in early summer to request approval for an extension of our technical service contract, and later in the year for authorization of a development partner contract. At this time, I will now hand it over to Clint, who will provide you with details on the property actions.
Thank you. Next slide, please. The first resolution before the committee today is Resolution 2025-7. It's a declaration of surplus for mobile homes acquired as part of the OMF South project. Excuse me. As part of the project, 74 mobile homes have been or will be acquired and need to be relocated or disposed. The board's real property excess, surplus, and disposition policy requires that declaring real property with a fair market value of more than $200,000 and less than $5 million is subject to approval by an appropriate committee of the board. A public hearing regarding the expected surplus of these mobile homes was held on March 27th, 2025. No mobile homes acquired by Sound Transit are expected to surpass $5 million in fair market value, while 9 do exceed the $200,000 level. Next slide, please. The second resolution for consideration this afternoon is Resolution 2025-8. And the intent of this resolution is to ratify and confirm acquisition of real property interest required for the OMF Facility South. Excuse me. Resolution 2023-26 provided authorization and statutory notification for property acquisition of the underlying lands that form part of the Belmore Mobile Home Park. Following an internal review, it was determined that the mobile homes and cell tower on the site should be treated as tenant-owned realty, requiring statutory notification to those owners prior to final board action. Consideration of this action provides a public forum for the impacted mobile homeowners and cell tower owner following their receipt of the statutorily required notice for the authorization to acquire property via condemnation should it be necessary. Next slide, please. This map for reference shows the Belmore Mobile Home Park, the outline in aqua, and then the light blue shaded portion shows roughly the 74 mobile homes in question. Next slide, please. The final resolution this afternoon is Resolution 2025-9. This is for acquisition of 2 parcels in the city of Federal Way as part of the OMF South project. Project-wise, there's a total of 62 parcels being acquired. To date, the board has approved 58 of those. Today, we are looking for authorization on 2. OMF 098, which is a temporary and a permanent easement acquisition from the Commons Mall owner. And a second acquisition, OMF 99, is a full fee acquisition of a parcel. And next slide, please. And here you can see the 2 acquisitions. The bigger square, OMF 98, is the Commons Mall property. You can see the tail track on the top of the slide of our current guideway. And then the smaller parcel, OMF 99, is the full fee acquisition. And for reference, Belmore Mobile Home Park is just south off the screen of this slide. Thank you. Next slide. So to circle up, our next steps are Resolution 2025-7. That's the mobile home surplus. We are requesting the committee's final approval. For Resolution 2025-8, that's ratifying the authorization for acquisition of the mobile homes and cell tower. We are requesting the committee's do pass recommendation. And the final resolution of 2025-9, we are requesting the committee's do pass recommendation for authorization to acquire property rights from the 2 parcels in the city of Federal Way. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask Vice Chair Roscoe, who represented us at a public hearing on this matter, I believe, to share if there was any public comment and what public comment was received.
Thank you, Chair.
You're able to do that?
Yep. Thank you, Chair. I did run the public hearing on March 27th, and there were no public comments, neither in person or in writing.
Okay, thank you.
Alejandro, is that correct? I don't remember any being in writing as well.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, you're on mute.
I was busy trying to unmute. Thank you very much, Vice Chair Roscoe, for running the public hearing and being available for that. We appreciate you. Questions for staff before we move into action? Board Member Backus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question, I know we have policies regarding affordable housing, TOD, all of that. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity for the surplus of these mobile homes to be considered for affordable housing, perhaps in another mobile home park. I know those are rare, but in South King County, we do still have those. So just wondering if there's an opportunity where we can provide for affordable housing, since some of these are roughly $200,000. Those are not shabby trailers. Those are homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint Dameron. Yes, staff is actively reaching out to local groups that can help us relocate these mobile homes where necessary. If you're familiar with mobile homes, they are not easily moved, especially after about 15 to 20 years. But we are looking at the most effective way to reuse and get them in the hands of people that could use them if possible.
Thank you. Any other questions? I would like to ask, so we've been through acquisition and relocation of mobile home properties before, and it's often pretty fraught. I mean, these are some of the most of it. Even at $200,000, these are some of the most affordable homes in many of the communities that we serve. And so can you say a little bit more about the people, the owners or the tenants, and the status of relocation and what communications have been had and whether we're having any challenges in this regard? I really want to be mindful of displacing this group of people.
Yes, I can speak to that. Relocation has been held since the inception of the offers went out, lots of public meetings early on. Each owner and resident has been made aware of all the relocation entitlements that are available to them. Some have already been relocated. We've already purchased 19 homes, and we're working toward the rest of them. And they have a very personal relationship with our relocation agents.
So how many homes are there total?
74.
So 19 out of 74 were done prior to the actions?
I'm sorry.
So
Can you repeat that,
19 out of 74 have been purchased prior to us taking these actions we're being asked to take today?
Yes, the 2023 board action allowed us to move forward. This action was to provide statutory notice. That was a bit of a gray area as to proper notification. But the authority to acquire was done back in 2023.
Okay. I mean, I would like to hear more. I mean, I would just like to hear more about how these people are doing and what communications we're having. And you know, they have a close relationship with our property manager and how's it going? I mean, can we, these are really difficult. Like we've had whole communities come out and protest and speak to us because it's really hard for some of these folks to relocate and find a place anywhere near where they live for the amount of money that we're going to be able to pay them in relocation assistance. So I just really want to hear more, please.
So, Madam Chair, we have the team, our communications team has been meeting regularly with the homeowners to treat them with respect, to make sure that everything's done as smoothly as possible. We've also been meeting and have arrangements in place with Belmore, the property manager for the entire facility, to ensure that in the, say, intervening period as people move out, that the overall facility, the integrity of the facility is still maintained to a high quality, so it doesn't have a feel like it's half empty. So I know the team here has had a good relationship with Belmore in terms of making arrangements, working with them to assist with some of the relocations as necessary. But we've been active on the ground for a while now. I've not heard any difficult situations or negative feedback, but we're certainly all ears in terms of the communications team and ready to support as necessary.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate that. Final question from me. Can somebody just once more walk through exactly what these three actions do? I just want to be really clear what we're being asked to do today.
Sure. The first action is to declare a series of mobile homes as surplus. Because they have a significant value, we need to bring that to committee to get that authority. So that's the first one, is to declare them
Can I
as
ask you-
surplus, and then we can,
Can I pause you there? These are for the
Yes.
ones we own already.
or it's also a look ahead to the ones that are appraised at a value of over $200,000. So anything over $200,000, we need to come and seek authority to
Good.
dispose of them.
Understood. That's not really the thrust of my question. My question is, I don't know how you surplus something that you don't own.
So we've appraised them at the value. Once we have the appraisal, then we're ahead of the final action. We need your authority to deal with them.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. In my world, at King County, when we surplus property, it means we are taking government-owned property and we're saying we don't need it. It is surplus to requirements, and therefore we are authorizing the executive branch to sell it or dispose of it in some way. So if this action is to surplus, my question is, how do we surplus something we don't already own?
Yeah, it's correct. We will not surplus these until we own them. That's a clarification.
Isn't it?
The board
isn't it
policy.
odd
I'm
to
sorry.
surplus something, approve surplus before we even buy it?
This is the authority to surplus. I guess I would ask Paul Mumal, is he our legal counsel, to speak to the surplus action if I could.
Sure.
Paul, here he comes.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Muma. I'm with the Sound Transit Legal Department. And I would have to say that the surplus process is not necessarily my bailiwick, but I think the idea here is that we're asking the committee to preemptively, with the understanding that we're definitely going to own these mobile homes in the future. We're going to acquire them. And so, as a matter of, we own some of them. We don't own all of them. As a matter of efficiency, we're asking the committee to declare that the property, once we acquire it, is surplus to Sound Transit's needs, rather than coming at you piecemeal every time we acquire one. This is a matter really of efficiency, to ask the committee to sort of preemptively declare that some of these are surplus.
Okay, thank you. And to Mayor Backus's question, when we surplus them, we will seek to try to sell them or deed them to somebody who could put them to use if we can.
That is correct. We're taking efforts to explore all kinds of different options to put them into the hands of people that can use them. So looking at donations, looking at nonprofits, looking at housing authorities, sort of leaving no stone unturned in terms of getting these into the right hands. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, and I interrupted you. I apologize. You were describing the three actions, but I'm going to pause again and ask for Board Member Backus to ask her question, and then we'll go back to describing the second and third action. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry for the interruption. Just wondering, when those are surplus, or when you find whomever is going to take them or buy them or whatever, can we have a report back on that? I mean, I know there are some nonprofits in South King County, I don't want to speak for them, but that may be very interested in having that opportunity to have some affordable housing in their stock. So just hoping that we can have a report back on status of this.
That's a great idea. We'll make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and once again, with apologies for the interruption on my part, let me ask staff to just now describe the second and third actions, and then we can move to action.
Thank you. So second action, 2025-08, ratify authorization for acquisition of mobile homes and cell tower infrastructure via condemnation if necessary. So the authorization for the underlying lands was already in place. This is to provide additional notification in the event that we need to use condemnation. At present, we haven't had to use condemnation.
Okay.
Very good. And then 2025-09, two additional properties that are required for OMF South. One is a temporary and permanent easement, and the second is a full fee property acquisition.
Okay, thank you very much. I do appreciate the extra time and thought and discussion on this topic. It was helpful to me. I hope it was helpful to the committee members. Are there any other questions before I move us toward action? All right, Alejandro, would you please read item 7B into the record?
Item 7B is resolution number R 2025-07, a resolution of the System Expansion Committee of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, approving the Chief Executive Officer's declaration that mobile homes on property acquired for the Operations and Maintenance Facility South project in Federal Way, Washington are surplus and are no longer needed for a transit purpose.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Again, this is within the committee's final jurisdiction.
This is Roscoe. I'll make that motion.
All right,
Second, Backus.
thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Again, these are always meaningful actions whenever we take action to take private property, but it just on this one, it was important to me that we really be dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and working very closely with the residents, and I'm very glad to hear that we are. So thank you for that. And now I will call for a vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number R 2025-07, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. All right, the motion carries. Next item 7C, which has already been briefed and discussed, and I will ask Alejandro to please read item 7C into the record.
Item 7C is a resolution number R 2025-08, a resolution of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority. One, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to acquire certain real property interests, including acquisition by condemnation to the extent authorized by law, and to reimburse eligible relocation and reestablishment expenses incurred by affected owners and tenants as necessary for construction, operation, and maintenance of the Operations and Maintenance Facilities South project. And two, ratifying and confirming the authority granted under resolution number R 2023-26 to acquire mobile homes and cell tower infrastructure situated on the Belmore Mobile Home Park, one of the subjects of that resolution.
Thank you. It is ready for a motion and a second. Is there a motion?
Board Member Franklin moves.
Thank you, Board Member Franklin.
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you, Board Member Backus. It's been moved and seconded. This is for recommendation to the full board, so this is with a do pass recommendation. Sorry. There has been, we have had discussion, but let me pause just a moment in case anybody had anything further to add. No, all right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. And now item 7D also has been briefed and discussed. Alejandro, would you please read item 7D into the record?
Item 7D is resolution number R 2025-09, a resolution of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to acquire certain real property interests, including acquisition by condemnation to the extent authorized by law, and to reimburse eligible relocation and reestablishment expenses incurred by affected owners and tenants as necessary for construction, operation, and maintenance of the Operations and Maintenance Facility South project.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve with a do pass recommendation to the board, please?
Board Member Burney, I'll make the motion.
This is Roscoe. I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. That motion also carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for that. That was a good discussion. All right, now we move to item 7E, which is regarding the West Seattle and Ballard Link extension. And I'd like to call on Brad Owen, Executive Director of the West Seattle and Ballard Link Extension Project, to begin the staff presentation. Welcome, Mr. Owen. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Balducci. Thank you for that, and members of the committee. My name is Brad Owen, and I'm the Capital Delivery Executive Director overseeing the West Seattle and Ballard Leak Extension projects. So we're here today with several actions, and the chair mentioned these in opening remarks related to the motions. We have 2 motions and a resolution. The first thing we're going to do is inform the committee of an upcoming future action related to the phase 2 of the Program Management and Support Services, or PMSS, contract for West Seattle and Ballard. We are also seeking due pass recommendation for the Engineering and Design Services contract for West Seattle. And then lastly, we're seeking a due pass recommendation for a budget resolution for both the PMSS and EDS action. We're going to cover the Program Management Support Services contract first, and then brief the committee on the Engineering Design Services contract. And to clarify, both of these actions are contingent on the board approval of Budget Resolution 2025-17. Next slide. So as a reminder, the West Seattle project adds 4.1 miles of light rail service with connections in Soto, Del Ridge, and West Seattle. This project will improve transit service frequency and capacity and will provide alternate modes of travel from the West Seattle area. Next slide. The Ballard Link Extension project adds nearly 8 miles of light rail service from downtown Seattle to Ballard. This includes 9 new stations and several high-capacity transfer stations. And importantly, this project also completes the new light rail-only tunnel, which adds capacity for the entire region, including the Tacoma Dome Link and Everett Link extensions. Next slide. So we are now going to present the PMSS, Program Management Support Services, which is being discussed in advance of future action. Next slide. So Connect Seattle Partners has been providing services under a PMSS contract for both the West Seattle and Ballard Link Extension projects since January of 2024. The initial contract period of execution for this was 18 months, and this expires in June of this year. The extension of this contract would provide staff resources to continue critical path work on West Seattle and Ballard, providing staff augmentation services. Examples of these services will be provided on the next slide. The not to exceed amount that you see in the top right-hand corner of approximately $41.5 million includes the budget from July 2025 to June 26 as currently negotiated and is inclusive of a 10% contingency. Staff is only requesting funding for CSP's contract extension from July 25 to June 26. By seeking board approval on an annual basis, as you see on the timeline at the bottom of that slide, staff will be able to provide board with clarity and flexibility on the expenditures of on these 2 projects. Next slide. Next. There we go. The PMSS contract includes support of preliminary engineering design services for Ballard, such as constructability reviews, engineering review, and analysis of alternatives and alignment. It also includes cost and scheduling work in the support of the EIS process, digital twin modeling, and assisting Sound Transit staff in coordination of third-party reviews, stakeholder engagement, and organizational readiness. Support for West Seattle includes assisting Sound Transit staff in design coordination, feasibility assessments, constructability reviews, coordination with grants and FTA in preparation for federal funding applications, and cost and schedule work also includes digital twin modeling. For both West Seattle and Ballard, this contract performs extensive work related to the board-directed work plan, the goal of which is to reduce overall cost on these projects and program-wide. We presented some of their work to this committee in February, where we identified both project-specific and programmatic opportunities for cost reductions. This work continues in a robust fashion and is critical for accomplishing the work plan's objectives. I will pause here in case there are questions on the PMSS before moving to the next item.
So I'll just say I have a lot of questions about these actions, and I tried to get them resolved before the meeting. I'm sorry I was unable to do so, but it's a lot of money, and I can't quite resolve for myself whether this is just like ministerial moving things into the next phase, whether it's like, I mean, when I add up all these numbers, this item alone is well over $100 million, unless I'm reading something wrong, which I may very well be, because there's a lot of different terms being used and I find it confusing. For example, we're talking about a $61 million increase to authorized project allocation. Then we're talking about a $44 million increase to the adopted annual project budget. Are those the same dollars? Do they overlap with each other? I mean, and so regardless, whether it's $100 million we're talking about, or 66, of which some part is also 44, it's a lot of money for a project that we are in the middle of determining how much it's going to cost us and whether we can afford it. And so this was the point at which some years ago we tripped up and had to go into realignment, because it was hard to keep just advancing these big costs without knowing what the whole future looked like. So I'm really struggling with this, you all. And I need some help.
Thank you. I will address the dollar amount first, because I believe that's important to understand. So the numbers in the resolution are inclusive of both the PMSS and the engineering design services, which we'll present on in a moment. So for Ballard Link Extension, there is a $7.4 million action included in that resolution. There is no engineering contract or EDS for Ballard. So for Ballard, it is only 7.4 for the PMSS. For West Seattle, the PMSS value is roughly 34 million. And then for the design for the EDS that will cover, the value is roughly 27 million. And so when you look at those together, for Ballard, it's 7.4, and then those two combined for West Seattle is 61.3, and there will be a total resolution of 68.7. So that's how the dollars break down per project.
Can I just jump in here and just say, I couldn't follow that at all. I'm not auditory that way. So somebody's going to have to show me something, because only one of those numbers was close to something that I'm looking at here. It's 61.3. You said I see 61.4, but I also see 44.35 million. And I also see the 7.4. There it is. And then there's another 3.7. So there's 4 different numbers we're talking about. And I heard you say 2 of them and a third one, which is close to, but not exactly the same, and is probably just a rounding difference. So somebody, yeah, thank you. Thank you. You've made my day. Please say one more time.
Sorry, we were looking for the slide as we were speaking. So for Ballard Link Extension, the PMSS is $7.4 million. There is no design on Ballard in this action, so there is no EDS. And so that's a total on Ballard. The budget resolution will include an addition of 7.4 million for Ballard. For West Seattle, the PMSS is roughly $34 million. The design contract, phase 1 that we are asking for action on, is 27.2. And so the combined dollar amount for West Seattle and the increase to the West Seattle budget would be 61.3. And so when you add those together, you have a $68.7 million total. And then you can see over on the side, the last column there, the total increase to the PMSS is 41.7 million. And then the increase related to the EDS would be 27.2.
Okay. I'm just going to ignore the $3.7 million because it's a rabbit hole. It doesn't appear on this chart, but let me just tell you, it bakes my noodle not to see it. But I see these, and these are the bigger numbers, so we'll just stick with this. What are we doing with these numbers? What are we being asked to do?
So for this work, I'll tackle Ballard first. So staff are supporting the advancement of the alternatives. There is a lot of work that goes into the constructability and feasibility of the alternatives as it relates to the downtown area and as we pass up into the Intrabay area. They are providing cost and schedule services. A big component of this addition is cost and schedule. We have to price out each alternative for comparative cost during the EIS process. They're also providing value engineering for us on this. And then we do quite a bit of modeling here. We do traction power modeling, we do fire life safety modeling, we do operational modeling, and that helps us understand what we can and can't do related to value engineering. So that is what they're doing on the Ballard project. For West Seattle, they're doing very similar things, but we are in I would say, in a more robust area of where the work plan for West Seattle includes quite a bit more study into some of the alternatives that we provided to you, like the foundation assessments and the SOTO optimization assessments. Those are very intensive processes. There's a lot of engineering. We pull quite a few subject matter experts in to help us do that. Sound Transit doesn't necessarily keep that expertise on staff at all times. And so we do pull those staff members from the staff aug of the PMSS.
Thank you. That's helpful to know what the project folks will be doing. My question is, what are we being asked to do? We're being asked to make a budget amendment in a number of different ways, including increasing the project allocation and some other things. And is this just standard at this point in project development? And you would ask for release of these funds all within, but because it's written as a budget amendment, that sounds to me like maybe we have overages. I don't understand what we're being asked to do and the implications of that.
So the board is being asked to, let me see if I can find the language. The board is being asked to increase the budget, amending the 2025 budget by these amounts. And so we're bringing these discrete elements to the board, increase the 2025 budget by this amount. This falls within the overall project allocated funding that the board has already approved. We are just, in essence, earmarking these monies for these services at this time.
So, but why does that require a budget amendment? Are we pulling money from it forward from next year? Are we doing something that is outside of the budget we adopted at the end of last year? That's what I don't understand.
Unfortunately, I don't know the details of that. I would have to ask someone from finance.
Okay.
And I don't know if anyone
Let
from
me
finance is here.
pause there and let's just I think they heard you. And I imagine people are communicating. So let me just pause there and see if anyone else has any questions. I've dominated this quite a bit. Anybody else? Okay. I'm not prepared to vote on this today. I don't understand enough about what's going on or the implications for future decisions. If it is time sensitive and we are going to incur additional significant costs by delaying, I could see us moving it out without recommendation and trying to answer questions before the board meeting. So that is the next question I would ask, is whether this is time sensitive. And while you think about that, because that's kind of an ultimate question, let's just hold that for a second. I want to call on Board Member Franklin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Balducci. One question I have as you think to pausing this, I would be prepared to move forward on the Ballard portion, I don't have the numbers in front of me now, but I think it was the 7.4 million for the Ballard portion of this, and the West Seattle portion that is much larger. And I would say I have much more concerns about and would like more information on if that would help staff to be able to move part of it forward. I would support that.
I love that idea. I wouldn't begin to know how to pull this motion apart in order to vote on part of it and not another part of it, but I'm sure that we could figure something out between now and whenever. Let's park that. So I've got two parked things now, and I'm going to go on to Board Member Backus. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mine is actually commenting on the last question by Board Member Franklin. Since this would still have to go to the full board for approval, and it sounds like we may send it out of this committee without approval anyway, the whole thing could be discussed at the board meeting without us rushing to push something through.
Why don't we take that approach? So that will give us an opportunity to learn more about the implications of not acting and the implications of acting before there's a vote to advance any part of it. So what I think I'm suggesting to the committee is that we take this item up without recommendation and then do some work between now and the full board to make sure all the questions are answered and the board can take action. I will say there was another one, and I'm not sure if this comment that I'm going to add is related to this item or another, but as I was trying to learn more and figure out how I felt about these things, I learned that one of these contracts seems, at least one of them seems very expensive. And I'm very concerned about the amounts that and we don't get deep in this committee into how much does this contract cost and why? And like, how does it compare to other like, we don't typically inquire about that. And I'm starting to be concerned that if the contracts are looking really, really expensive for what we're buying, we're going to need to go deeper into oversight over contracts. So, and this isn't even a contract, this is a budget amendment, right? So, but it's just, I have a lot of questions about these actions. Board Member Franklin, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I also have a lot of questions. I've had great conversations with staff about it and really appreciate it. And I understand that a lot of the work that we have to do right now is the design work to hopefully find all the cost savings opportunities in these very expensive projects, which I fully support because we all know we have to save on costs. But I do think that if possible, splitting the two up for board review so that we're voting on Ballard separately from West Seattle might be actually very helpful. I see the projects as very different because the Ballard project supports the entire system, including the spine, whereas the West Seattle is one of the most expensive portions of the entire system that I think a lot of people in our community have questions about. So
this needs to be on the camera.
Sorry. Anyway, so I'm hoping that
Harrell,
that's
you've come off
possible.
mute. I'm sorry,
If
1 second, please. Board Member Harrell, you're off mute and you may not intend to be.
On this call, so like.
There we go. Please continue. Sorry for interrupting you, Board Member Franklin. Please go ahead.
I was pretty much done. So I'm not sure if that's possible by the next meeting, but I think that would be helpful as we're trying to move this forward. Thank you.
Okay. Board Chair Summers, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just jump in and say I've been thinking about and be talking to the new CEO about some retreats for the board. There's so many pieces flying around, and it's been such a long time since we've had an overview on how this all fits together. I think excellent questions, and just points out to me, I get confused also, and it's time to maybe regroup and take a look at where we are, where we're headed, and some of the policies, which would help give us the larger picture to put these actions into context.
I really appreciate that. And I think, I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody else. I'll just say, I think that would be very helpful to me. And so I look forward to doing that. Thank you, Chair. All right.
Chair Balducci,
please go
CEO
ahead,
Sparman,
John. Yep.
if I may. So a lot of really good questions, and I guess I feel the need to apologize a little bit. I think it's very true, and your questions reflect the complexity of us mixing both sort of scope and the technical work that we won't need these consultant teams to do with the budgetary and financial mechanisms through which we execute on that. My commitment is to have staff unpack those for you. And in the best form possible, both focus on answering the key questions around what does this money buy us, by project, by contract, and I hear lots of questions around that, and we need to be more transparent about that. I concur. And two, what are the actual financial mechanisms to adjust the budgets, make sure that the money sits in the right place? And to answer the questions, are we actually asking for more money, which we're actually not, but it's confusing. I totally understand that. So I will be working with staff to make sure we unpack this whole package in both those regards and bring it back to you in a much more straightforward building block approach. So there's real transparency around what the board is really committing to do. That's my commitment to you.
Thank you. Thank you, CEO Sparman, and everyone. I mean, I know you're all trying, and we are trying, and I think we will get there. First step is understanding, and then we can make decisions. So thank you. All right. In order to not lose time, I am suggesting that we move this without recommendation, and to that end, I will now ask Alejandro to read this resolution into the record.
Madam Chair, before that, do we want Mr. Owen to complete his presentation regarding the other action
Oh, I'm
that is
sorry, we're gonna do
also
all
funded
three.
by the budget amendment?
Yes, let's do that. Thank you.
All right. So the next item is the engineering design services contract. This is specifically for the West Seattle Link extension. This action would authorize a contract with Jacobs. Oh, sorry, next slide. This action would authorize a contract with Jacobs Engineering Group to provide civil engineering design services in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 scope will be described in more detail on the next slide, but phases 2 and 3 are contract options to be negotiated and finalized upon satisfactory completion of phase 1. Staff is only requesting funding for phase 1 at this time. As you can see on the timeline, 2025, April 25, we have phase 1. The requested total contract price of 27.3 not to exceed includes a 10% contingency for phase 1. And then we would be required to come back to the board for phase 2 for board authorization to continue. Next slide. So the engineering design services, or EDS contract, will primarily consist of validation and refinement of the 30% preliminary engineering design for West Seattle in preparation to advance to design completion, or 100%. All design efforts would focus on affordability and refining, identifying, and implementing cost savings opportunities, and they will also identify new opportunities for project efficiencies. Work would include permitting, property acquisition design, and third-party agreements. The resulting product from this phase 1 would be an updated design to budget cost and schedule that incorporates current cost-saving measures and identification of additional cost-saving measures. Next steps. Next slide. The next steps for this, we've already discussed the PMSS. So for the EDS contract, if the board were to, or the committee were to take action on May 5th, we would issue a notice to proceed for the engineering design services for phase 1. We have an update to the System Expansion Committee on the work plan progress for May 8th. May through November, we would continue the West Seattle and Ballard work plan validation efforts and identify additional cost savings. We would have a Q3 report on the engineering and design services phase 1 validation efforts and additional cost savings. And this would be where we would work intermittently with the board to help them understand what the costs of West Seattle were, what the opportunities for cost savings were, and where that project was headed. Q4 is, as long as all of that went okay, Q4 and 25, we would come back to the board to request authority to enter into phase 2, which is the bulk of the design services for West Seattle. That is the completion of the presentation. Happy to answer questions on the design contract.
Okay. So is this the item that's not being put forward for a vote?
This is the item that is being put forward for a vote.
Okay. Did we talk about the one in between that was being removed from the agenda?
The first item that I presented was the one that was removed from the agenda. This is the item that is on the agenda.
Is that right? Okay, so let me just be clear. 7E was the one we just discussed, Resolution R 2025-10, that we would discuss moving forward without recommendation. Item F is struck through on my notes, so that's why I believe that motion M 2025-16 was not being offered. In fact, that's what it said earlier on the notes. But then M 2025-17 is being offered. So is there a presentation on M 2025-16, or was that it just now?
Madam Chair, this is the clerk, Alejandro. Resolution number R 2025-10 only exists in the context of 2516 and 2517. So there was no individual standalone discussion on it or presentation as staff moved forward on instructing and informing on the contracts. That is the justification for the budget resolution. So there are 3 items of budget resolution that was spoken to in broad context while discussing the 2 contract items. The first item Mr. Owen spoke to was 2025-16, which is not for consideration today, but we are hoping to land for the board meeting. And M 2025-17 was what Mr. Owen finished with.
My question is, has anybody told us anything about 2025-16? So that was the entire first presentation was really about that one?
Correct.
Okay. Slightly off topic, but it might be less confusing if we're doing contracts and then funding the contracts, if we did the contracts first and then took up the budget items. This one had the budget item first and then the contracts, and that is a little bit harder to follow. So just for purposes of agenda management. Okay.
Understood.
Discussion on motion M 2025-17 presentation. This is the contract with Jacobs for civil design engineering services. I'll just say, I don't know if this is the one where the assessment that I heard about this in preparation for this meeting was that it was very, very expensive, like questionably expensive. And I'm not sure if I'm tracking. Let me just be very transparent about that. And so I'm not prepared to vote on this one either. I need to understand how we are managing our contracts so that they are more affordable and not less so. But in order to keep things moving, I would ask that we move both of the items that are still on the agenda with out recommendations so that I will do my due diligence and dig in and be much more prepared. I mean, it's not for lack of trying, just didn't get there by today. And I see some nods. So, okay. So with that, if there's no more discussion, Alejandro, would you please read the item can we do them together or should we do them separately?
I would recommend do them separately.
Okay. So please read the first item into the record.
Yes, the first item is item 7E, resolution number R 2025-10, which is a resolution of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority. A lot of words ahead of me. One, amending the adopted 2025 budget to advance the West Seattle Link Extension project through the completion of the preliminary engineering phase into the final design phase by A, increasing the authorized project allocation by $61,400,000 from $270,340,863 to $331,740,863. And B, increasing the adopted 2025 annual project budget by $44,350,000 from $94,926,236 to $139,226,236. And two, amending the adopted 2025 budget to advance the Ballard Link Extension project through the completion of the preliminary engineering phase by A, increasing the authorized project allocation by $7,400,000 from $806,619,999 to $814,019,999, and B, increasing the adopted 2025 annual project budget by $3,700,000 from $96,298,561 to $99,998,561.
Thank you. By the way, I think the title of that action somewhat justifies my confusion. I'll just say. All right. Can I request a motion to move this item out of committee to the full board without recommendation, please?
Chair, I move to forward R 2025-10 to the full board without recommendation from this committee.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
second that.
It's been moved and seconded, and the second was by Board Member Franklin. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. All right, please, Alejandro, please read the next item into the record.
Item 7G is motion number M 2025-17, a motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute a contract with Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc. for Phase 1 Civil Engineering Design Services for the West Seattle Link Extension in the amount of $24,791,877 with a 10% contingency of $2,479,188 for a total authorized not to exceed amount, for total authorized amount not to exceed $27,271,065 contingent upon adoption of resolution number R 2025-10.
Okay. That is now also in front of us. Same request to advance this without recommendation. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, this is Backus. Move to forward to the full board without recommendation from this committee, M 2025-17.
Second.
Thank you very much. Moved by Board Member Backus, seconded by Board Member Franklin. Any final discussion? I just feel motivated to say, really appreciate that. I know that staff has been working very hard to help me to get to a place of understanding what we're doing and feeling comfortable with it. And this is not a comment on your work. We're in a tough spot on all of these programs, and sort of so the questions become more urgent about, you know, what might have been more routine in the past. And so, but we'll just have to dig in and figure out a path forward. All right. With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. That motion carries unanimously, and I think brings us up to item 7H. Am I correct? Yes, 7H. Regarding an item regarding the Northeast 130th infill station. And I'd like to call on Josh Patagas, the Linwood Link Extension Executive Project Director, to kick off the presentation. But before you do, as you're assembling, let me call on Board Member Roscoe.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to confirm that if I leave the meeting, you will not lose a quorum.
Excellent question. Alejandro, what do you think?
That should be fine. We do still have quorum. And Madam Chair, before we lose Vice Chair Roscoe, I just want to comment. We will be working to complete motion number M 2025-16, which is the one that was removed for the board meeting. So there was a more holistic context to all three actions at the board meeting.
Thank you
If
very
we
much.
reach a weird impasse that we are unable to do so, we will issue corrected staff reports.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we will have a quorum, and thank you for being here despite the conflicting requirements, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Patagas, please go ahead.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and fellow committee members. My name is Josh Patagas, and I'm the Executive Project Director for the Linwood Link Extension and the 130th Street Infill Station. Taylor Carroll is our Deputy Executive Project Director, who will be running through this motion with the group.
Great, thanks. Chair Balducci and the rest of the SEC committee. We're here today to provide a quick update on the project, as well as seek approval of motion M 2025-18. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is right. The Pioneer Station is located in North Seattle, just north of the Northgate Station and south of the Shoreline South Station. This is Sound Transit's first infill station as part of the ST3 program. This station serves a growing neighborhood in North Seattle that will provide additional access to light rail. Two of the images at the bottom left show the City of Seattle's current planning work to rezone the neighborhoods that would accommodate for future growth in the area. And this station would serve that future growth. Next slide. This image should be familiar from the past presentations that we've done on this project, but it illustrates the three different phases that we've done with this project. As an infill station, if we were to have built it on the original timeline, it would have impacted the Linwood Link Extension service for multiple years as we were building it. So we ended up advancing the schedule for the first two phases as part of the Linwood Link Extension project. I'm happy to announce that the objective of that was met with minimizing the impacts to Linwood Link service, as service is currently running through the station at this time. We're now working on the phase 3, which is the station finishes, and this would allow for early opening of the station 5 years ahead of the original timeline. Next slide. Overall, construction work is going well. We are focused on the platforms and plaza with special focus on the critical path items for doing the civil to systems handover in May of this year. And we're pleased to see high quality construction with the team doing a good job of managing the risk on the project. I want to bring your attention to the image on the bottom left, which illustrates which illustrates this station as an infill station, as there's a train that's currently operating through the station site right there. Next slide. And to further build on this point as an infill station, I want to point out a few unique features of building an infill station. One, we have trains running through the site, and safety is of the utmost importance. And so we ended up building a safety wall that would separate our workers at the platform level from the trains operating through the site. This keeps people safe while also limiting the need to get track access permits, as well as utilize KC Metro staff to be on site to monitor the construction activities. The second unique feature is that we have a need for single tracking. So whenever we are working within 10 feet of the railroad or within the overhead catenary system, it requires extra coordination and authorization to complete that work. That extra coordination runs through our Passenger Impact Program, which is a new program. And I'd like to report out that largely the coordination is going well, especially being a new program. Of course, there's some hiccups in largely around communication, and the teams are doing a great job of working through that. And I would just like to take a moment to commend Pam Wren and the entire PIP group for all of their great coordination efforts to secure the proper authorizations, while at the same time managing all of the requests across the entire system and minimizing the impacts to service to our customers. Next slide. So this brings us to today's action, M 2025-18. This is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to increase Pinehurst Station contract and amendment or in agreements up to $12 million. This is following the lessons learned from 6 other projects that have also had this request, allowing for flexibility in amending these 9 different contracts and agreements to support unanticipated work leading up to a revenue service date for the project, as well as through our closeout period. This request, as I said, is similar to the other projects. Most recently, last month with the downtown Redmond and Federal Way link extensions. This is a similar action to that. And I also want to note that the $12 million that are being requested is all within the existing baseline budget. And then lastly, as part of this action, staff would come to the board and provide a full accounting of how the contingency was used for the project in Q4 of 2026. Next slide. Here's a financial snapshot of the project with a baseline budget of $240 million. You can see a committed of 183 and incurred to date of 120 million. Overall, we're pleased to report that the project is trending within the baseline budget and that we have a current forecasted opening at Q2 of 2026. Next slide. Scheduled to complete. Construction activities will be wrapped up by Q1 of 2026. And as I said, we're within the baseline schedule within that forecast to complete of Q2 2026. Last slide. And then this is a summary of today's action, and go ahead and pause right here and open it up to see if there's any questions or comments.
All right, thank you very much for that presentation. That was helpful, and I apologize if I called on the wrong person. It's possible I was supposed to call on Taylor, but I am doing my best here. So, all right, thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions? I have just one, and that is, thank you for the assessment about this being within budget. As far as we know, sitting here today, is the project trending to come in on budget, like so that taking this action, we're not putting ourselves on a path to being over budget?
Yes, that's true. We have an estimate at complete of approximately 220 million.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Board Member Bernie.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm trying to follow along when the work has already started. With the World Cup coming in 2026, are there any anticipated impacts with the World Cup and transportation options during that?
Right now, as an infill station, service is operating through the station site. So as we're set up, the construction activities should be complete at the beginning of next year. And so the anticipation through the World Cup timeline would be that we are completing all of our pre-revenue service activities and getting ready to open for revenue service.
Great. Thank you so much.
That'd be great. All right, if there are no further questions, I'll ask Alejandro to read this item into the record.
Item 7H is motion number M 2025-18, a motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to increase certain Northeast 130th infill station project contract and/or agreement amounts as necessary for a total authorized cumulative increase not to exceed $12 million, all within the Northeast 130th Street infill station project approved baseline budget.
Right, is there a motion to advance this to the board with a due pass recommendation?
Madam Chair, I move to forward M 2025-18 to the full board with a due pass recommendation.
This is Bernie. I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. All right, this brings us to item 7I regarding certain Linwood Link extension contract amendments. And once again, I'll ask Mr. Patagas to give us a briefing. Please go ahead.
Great, you've got us back to back here. So good afternoon again, Madam Chair and fellow committee members.
I am sorry, I am totally messing up my notes here. I want you to see I'm reading them off of this. Thank you
It's
for
all good.
correcting me and helping me out. I appreciate you.
We're a tandem here, so
Right.
we'll get through it. So yes, so again, Executive Project Director for Linwood Link, and to my right here is Taylor, who's the Deputy Executive Project Director. Next slide, please. So we're here today to provide a project update for the Linwood Link extension and present motion number M 2025-19 to increase the cumulative contingency amount authorized by an amount of $15 million for a new total authorized cumulative contingency expenditure not to exceed $30 million, all within the Linwood Link extension approved baseline budget. I could say there's quite a few of you here in this room that are probably in that picture on the bottom left that was at our opening day on revenue service for August 30th. And then on the right there is a picture looking south through the Linwood Transit Center. Next slide, please. Here are a few more photos of the project. We've got the map on the left highlights the 8.5 mile extension and depicts the location of the 4 stations with integrated bus transit centers and parking garages. I guess it's on the right here, shows a revenue service train crossing Signature G Bridge over the I-5 in the Montlake Terrace City. Next slide, please. A few more up on the top left shows a time-lapse revenue train looking south from the Shoreline South 148th garage. The lower left shows the King County Metro bus at our Montlake Terrace Station and Transit Center. And then on the right here shows the Linwood Transit Center with the 1,700 stall parking garage in the lower left, station in the middle of the photo there, and the integrated community transit bus loop and layover in the middle left as well. As a side note, I recently ran into Rick Ildenfrich from the Community Transit, and he expressed they've been very pleased with how the service connections have been performing over the past few quarters here at the Transit Center. Next slide, please. So it's just a recap of our ridership here. For background, these numbers were pulled off of our public-facing ridership webpage, which tracks ridership throughout the system. These numbers are blended averages over the last 3 months, isolated by station. The ridership has been great. We've heard positive feedback from all of our project partners and stakeholders, and everyone is enjoying the new system itself. And then on average, we're averaging about $170K per month. And when I say that, that's $170K just for those 4 stations. Next slide, please. Okay, so we added this, so apologies to some of the committee members if you haven't seen this prior to today, but we added this last minute. We wanted to recognize and praise our entire project team, which includes our internal sound transit staff, 3H GCCM contractors, that's the 200, 300, and 800 contracts, 2H design firms, 2H construction management consultants or CMCs, and our partner stakeholders, which is Seattle, Shoreline, Montlake Terrace, Linwood, and WashDOT. To date, the collective Linwood team has received 17 awards for this project. These categories range from what's up on the screen there, the partnering and collaboration, construction management, engineering and design, sustainability, and community service. With the majority of those awards being received from our industry partners who are also up there, everyone from AGC, ENR, ACEC, so on. And then here's the recent news, and it's pretty exciting. So within the last 24 hours, Taylor and a few of our other our GC partners, they flew out to Columbus, Ohio for the annual AGC Baldwin Awards Banquet. There we had our L200 GCCM, which was a joint venture of Stacy Whitbeck, Kiewit, and Hoffman, and they were there to receive the National Award for Highway and Transportation in the $100 million plus category. And our L300 GCCM Skanska was also there to receive their national award for construction management in the 100 million plus category. Since these were national awards, both projects, L200 and 300, qualified for the National Grand Award, which is selected from the 28 individual category winners. This Grand Award is not announced until the in-person event and is classified as the 2025 Best of the Best AGC project in North America. We are very happy to announce the L300 project was recognized as the Grand Award winner for 2025, beating out 125 other applicants who submitted to AGC for this award. I guess I'm going to go off script here a little. So it's somewhat humbling these last few months. We've spent a lot of time, putting in for these various awards and so on. So it gives you a chance to kind of reflect back on all the work that we've done. But when we started this, we broke ground in 19. It was about Q2, Q3 of 19. We weren't there to win awards, right? We were there to build a safe project for our workers, for the community, build a quality product that's going to last for the 100+ years, meet our schedule, hit our budget, so on and so forth. In that time, we were about at the 15% mark is when COVID hit. Then following COVID, we had the supply chain demands. Following that, we had a 4-month concrete strike, so on and so forth. And that's not even accounting for all the other all the other challenges that we see on these mega projects. The collective team always had a project first mentality and grinded through everything that was thrown at them. They did this not only hitting the dates, hitting the budgets, doing it safely. Their safety stats, when I look at them, they're well below the state and national averages. And the other great thing that they were able to accomplish, and all those contracts that we had, every one of the contracts exceeded their SDBE goals that were set at the beginning of this project. So this is a true sign of a world-class team, and I think all of us have been honored to be part of it. So with that, kind of get rid of the grandstanding here a little bit and move on to why we're actually here. So next slide, please. So here's a quick financial snapshot. The total budget's at the 2.77 billion. We're committed at 2.68 and incurred at 2.65. The requested contingency value associated with this motion, M 2025-19, is accounted for in these numbers and is within the baseline budget. And even though we are in revenue service and been there for the last few months, we are not showing 100% complete yet. And this is due to the off-guideway areas that the team is still finalizing with our team and our jurisdictional partners. Next slide, please. So back in Q1 of 2024, LLE brought a motion M 2024-16 to the board to gain contingency authorization for the board to increase not to exceed values for LLE agreements and contracts for the sum of $15 million, which was approved. This slide provides a breakdown of the contingency authorization utilized in that motion. So to date, the Linwood team has utilized 9.1 out of that 15 million contingency granted in M 2024-16, leaving 5.8 million remaining contingency authorization. We are in the final negotiations of a wrap-up change order with the L300 GCCM contractor for a total value of 9.5 million. This would utilize the remaining 5.8 million from the previous authorization, leaving a deficit of 3.6. And I do want to note that this $9.5 million CO is to compensate L300 for work issued by the agency and for us to get to the GCCM. This is not like a settlement or a wrap-up claim or anything like that. But this is one of the reasons why we are here today, to seek additional contingency authorization approval in motion M 2025-19. Next slide, please. All right, so when Linwood Link requested that contingency back in Q4 24, the primary focus was to have the funding flexibility to achieve revenue service, which was very successful. In response to the TAG recommendations, the capital delivery program has grown over the past year, and so have our priorities. Our department has increased the focus around the closeout process for these mega projects, and with that urgency comes a need to extend our construction management consultants, or CMCs, and design support team contracts to support the closeout process beyond the revenue service date. It also involves increases to the various task orders and other agreements that need to be funded to our project partners to maintain the level of effort required to close out an 8.5-mile project through 4 jurisdictions, including WashDOT. All of this is in preparation to transfer the project to the recently formed Capital Delivery Department project closeout team in Q3 2025, which we are on schedule to do so 1 year after revenue service. Next slide, please. So for the sake of not reading this, the project team is confident this request will cover the remaining costs required to close out the Linwood project. Further, this lesson learned has been shared with the other active extensions and coincides with the contingency authorization values recently requested by them. Lastly, staff will report back to the board no later than Q3 of 26 to provide a full accounting of the contingency used. Next slide. And that concludes my presentation and can answer any questions the committee members have.
Thank you very much. That was a very detailed and helpful report. Appreciate it. Questions for staff? Can we just start by saying congratulations? It's a very, very impressive. And I'm glad you took the time to share the accomplishments and acknowledgement with us and brag on the team, because they deserve it. And it's nice to be recognized. I'm glad to see it. I think that's what Board Member Backus was about to say. Okay, great. Any questions, however? I have just one, and that is, closeout has been a passion of mine. I love to see us closing out projects, and I'm glad to see that we have a team that's focusing on making sure we close things out, because when we close things out and they have come in under budget and there are resources remaining, we can reallocate those resources to future projects, and that helps to lift the rest of the program. So I was glad to hear that. I would love to, at some point, in going back to the idea of having regular reporting, have a report here about what's going on with closeouts generally, sort of how long they're taking, what's keeping us, like there were some in the past that went on for years and years and years, and I would just love to have an update as to where we are with closeouts, because I think we're probably moving in a much better direction. So not directly relevant to this request, but I just wanted to put that out there for the team. Thank you. All right, Alejandro, would you please read this item into the record?
Item 7I is motion number M 2025-19, a motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority authorizing the chief executive officer to increase the cumulative contingency amount authorized, to increase certain Linwood Link Extension contract and/or agreement amounts as necessary by an amount of $15 million for a new total authorized cumulative contingency expenditure not to exceed $30 million, all within the Linwood Link Extension approved baseline budget.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve with a due pass recommendation?
Bernie, I move to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Board Member Bernie, seconded by Board Member Summers. Any final discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. All right, the motion carries. And we have just two more and a presentation. We are getting there. Item 7J is regarding a contract for station shelters, furnishing and systems. And I'd like to ask Manan Garg to please begin the presentation. Executive Director in the Capital Delivery Department, I should say, is your title. Welcome, and please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Manan Garg, Executive Director of Capital Delivery Department. I'm joined here by my two key staff members, Acting Executive Director, Project Director Rick Kapka, and Cynthia Padilla, who's going to talk about this. With that, I'm just going to hand off the presentation to Rick and Cynthia to walk us through quickly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Manan. Good afternoon, Chair Balducci and members of the System Expansion Committee. My name is Rick Kapka. I'm the Acting Program Executive for the STRIDE BRT program. I'm joined here today by my colleague, Cynthia Padilla. Cynthia is the Acting Deputy Program Executive for the program. It's our privilege to be before you today, bringing a very important construction contract that will help move the STRIDE BRT program forward in 2025. For your information, we will be coming back to you in the near future to present to both the System Expansion Committee and to the full board a holistic update of the STRIDE BRT program. We do anticipate additional key board actions to progress the STRIDE program over the next few months of this year. And for the motion before you today, I'd like to hand it over to Cynthia.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon, Chair Balducci and members of the committee. As Rick said, I'm Cynthia Padilla, Acting Deputy Program Executive for STRIDE BRT Delivery. Today, next slide, please, sorry. Today, I am seeking the committee's recommendation for the board to authorize the construction contract for the STRIDE Bus Rapid Transit shelters, furnishings, and systems. This contract will help the STRIDE projects move into the next phase of construction. The work in this contract covers fabrication, procurement, and installation of the furnishings and equipment across all projects in the STRIDE BRT program. This contract also includes installation of the inductive battery electric bus charging infrastructure across the projects. As I go through this presentation, I will point out the key elements. Hoffman Construction Company of Washington is the GCCM for this contract. This recommended action would increase the contracts not to exceed contract authorization to $87,892,729, including a 12% contingency. Sorry, I was a little bit ahead of myself in the slides here, but here is the project status snapshot. This collaborative general contractor construction manager, or GCCM, contract is with Hoffman Construction Company. Hoffman has worked with Sound Transit on several past projects. On this contract, Hoffman allowed us to realize design and schedule efficiencies and assisted with preparing construction documentation. We began pre-construction services with Hoffman in September 2023, and in November 2024, we awarded an early works contract. This is a construction contract. This contract included the construction of shelter and pylon mock-ups, allowing the Hoffman team to test fabrication and installation methods. The photo on the right is from our site visit to the fabricator shop in Kansas City, and the team viewed the mock-ups and made changes as needed prior to the fabrication of the full scope of this contract for almost 40 station platforms. This contract also purchased schedule-critical electrical equipment ahead of time. Next slide, please. The BRT program consists of 3 projects and a battery electric bus fleet. I-405 BRT covers the S1 and S2 service lines and runs between Burien and Linwood. SR 522 BRT covers the S3 service line and runs from Shoreline to Bothell. And we have a bus base north that is located in Bothell. The scope of this contract furnishes and installs station elements and installs battery electric bus charging equipment across all 3 BRT projects. Inductive battery electric bus charging equipment is located at the end of each service line with 1 additional charger at the bus base as shown in the 6 pink circles. This technology operates similarly to wireless cell phone charging with a device in the ground that the bus hovers over to charge at the end of each run. Next slide. There are 25 station locations within the STRIDE BRT program. The image on the left illustrates what a typical STRIDE station will look like at the freeway stations, which are along the S1 and S2 lines. The image on the right illustrates what a typical STRIDE station will look like along the S3 line, which runs along arterial streets. You can see the shelter and pylon elements that we mocked up using that earlier works contract. Next slide. We are delivering the STRIDE program through various construction contracts. The platform items listed in the image on the left will be constructed by the civil contractors. These include the concrete platforms, the foundations and underground footings, conduits, and in some cases, walls and railings. This contract with Hoffman fabricates, orders, and installs the elements on the platform as shown in the image on the right. These include the shelters, the pylon markers that indicate that this is a STRIDE station, fare vending, benches, lighting, and other items as shown. The STRIDE station's best practice of modular construction creates a consistent look and feel across the STRIDE service lines and contributes to efficiency in fabrication and installation. Next slide. One example of a civil contract is the Kirkland Northeast 85th Station design build contract administered through our collaborative partnership with WashDOT. Thank you, Chair Balducci and the board for approving the authorization for this contract in 2022. You may remember that we held the groundbreaking ceremony in September 2023, and you can see by the image on the right that construction is well underway. This contract will reconfigure the Northeast 85th Street interchange, construct the platform for the STRIDE station, and greatly improve connections to downtown Kirkland. Hoffman would follow and install the various STRIDE station elements, and most of the STRIDE program will be constructed in this rhythm of one contractor building the platform and Hoffman installing the remaining station items as shown in the previous slide. Next slide. Led by our START project manager, Ashley Long, artwork will be placed throughout the STRIDE facilities. We have selected 2 artists for the STRIDE stations. A panel of community members representing the jurisdictions along STRIDE projects selected both artists from a short list of pre-qualified artists. Both local and national artists were included on that list. Glass art panels will be integrated into the upper portions of the shelters as shown in the image on the left. And Judson Studios is the glass fabricator from Los Angeles that will translate the artist designs to the glass panels. Next slide. Because the work of this contract covers the stations and the BEB charging for all BRT service lines and the bus base north, this station contract will be funded by the project budgets of the 3 BRT projects. This action would increase this contract's authorized allocation to $87,892,729, and the budget for this contract is $91,056,000 as shown. And as shown, we are within budget. We are also closely tracking the schedule to align with the planned start of service dates for the respective STRIDE lines. Next slide. To recap and summarize, today's request is for your recommendation for the board to authorize the construction contract. The total authorized amount would be $87,892,729 for Hoffman Construction Company to fabricate, furnish, and install STRIDE shelters, furnishings, and systems. This work also includes installing the battery electric bus charging equipment. Next slide. This concludes my presentation. Thank you all for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Board members, questions, please. It's looking good. All right, I will ask Alejandro to read this item into the record, please.
Item 7J is motion number M 2025-20, a motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute a contract modification to the construction contract with Hoffman Construction Company to provide general contractor/construction management services for the Stride Bus Rapid Transit Station shelters, furnishings, and systems in the amount of $77,386,451, with a 12% contingency of $9,286,374, totaling $86,672,825 for a new total authorized contract amount not to exceed $87,892,729.
Thank you. I actually do have one question. Sorry, I know I was supposed to do this before. Compared to similar kinds of contracts on the light rail system for shelters and furnishing and art and these sorts of systems that you're talking about, is this a comparable cost level?
Chair Balducci, good question. I would say based on the infrastructure we're building, we're trying to replicate the amenities that we offer at our light rail stations. So in some ways, we are putting in the infrastructure that's going to give passengers that same experience. But I would say as a whole, based on a lot of the extraneous infrastructure that needs to be built for our light rail stations, there's less that goes into this, so it's not as expensive.
Okay. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, just to add, we are doing the benchmarking as we work through the process of cost efficiencies and schedule efficiencies. So this is something which we will be more than happy to bring you back when we do the holistic overview. Just a point. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Is there a motion to approve this item with a due pass recommendation?
This is Board Member Burney. I will move I'm thinking it's 2025-20, if I'm keeping up.
Yep. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved by Board Member Burney, seconded by Board Member Summers. Any final discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Brings us to our final action item, item 7K, and this one is south to the Tacoma Dome. So I'd like to call on Lauren Douglas, to Tacoma Dome Link Extension Planning Director, to kick off the presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Balducci and members of the committee. I'm Lauren Douglas, and I'm the Planning Director of the Tacoma Dome Link Extension Project, and I'm joined today by Diane Wyatter, the Development Manager and leads our coordination with the City of Tacoma. I'm going to pass it to Diane to walk through the presentation and the motion today.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, and hello, Chair Balducci and committee members. This is my first presentation ever to the SEC, so I'm happy to be here. I'm Diane Wyatter, and I'm the South Segment Lead on the Tacoma Dome Link Extension Project. And we're here today to ask the System Expansion Committee approval and a due pass recommendation to the board for the CEO to authorize a project administration agreement with the City of Tacoma to support project development activities. There are two planned stations in the City of Tacoma. One is located at Portland Avenue and the other one at the Tacoma Dome. The project administration agreement with the city will allow both parties to continue working cooperatively to advance the project and allow Sound Transit to reimburse City of Tacoma staff for work on the project. And it also helps to maintain our project schedule. Some of the scope involved in the project administration agreement are activities essential to meet project objectives, including permitting, station area planning work, utility coordination, and engineering and design review. The project administration
agreement was approved by the Tacoma City Council just 2 days ago on April 8th. And following the execution of the project administration agreement with the city, the parties will execute one or more task orders. This concludes my presentation, and we welcome any questions.
Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any questions for staff? I am not seeing any. You lucked out. Did a wonderful report, and we have no questions for you. Alejandro, would you please read this item into the record?
Yes, our final action for today is item 7K, motion number M 2025-21, a motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute a project administration agreement with the City of Tacoma for the Tacoma Dome Link Extension Project.
All right, any final discussion? Oh, sorry, motion. Is there a motion to approve with a due pass recommendation, please?
Chair, this is Backus. Move to forward to the full board M 2025-21 with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you.
And I will second. Bernie?
Thank you very much. It is before us. Any final discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone. We got through a lengthy list of actions. We have one report before the end of our meeting, and this is regarding joint development. It's something that we got to see at the executive committee. Very interesting project that we're working toward, and I invite Kristen Hoffman, our Joint Development Deputy Director, to start the presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Balducci and members of the committee. As I am Kristen Hoffman in the Community Development Office, Deputy Director of Joint Development, and I have Thatcher Bowden here, who is the Director of the Community Development Office. Today, I want to provide you an update on the joint development design work we've done and the feedback we've received from the industry engagement over the past year as it relates to the West Seattle and Ballard Link extension. While today's briefing is specific to building on top of our underground stations on the West Seattle and Ballard Link extensions, the insights we're learning from both the design and the industry will be applied to all joint development opportunities, including those outside of Seattle. There is no action today. Next slide, please. Our board, as well as the advocacy committee, worked closely with Sound Transit staff on the policy language in ST3 on how the agency would plan and design its transit expansions to facilitate TOD, and then on planning the TOD outcomes we should be striving for. Following the passage of ST3, we updated the board policy on TOD, ultimately resulting in our 2018 equitable TOD policy. The policy directed the agency to intentionally plan for TOD throughout the transit delivery process, to equitably engage the community, and to pursue outcomes like supporting local regional growth, increasing ridership, building significant housing with a special focus on affordable housing, and improving access to our stations. Joint development helps realize the board's EOT policy goals. Next slide, please. To achieve those goals, the Community Development Office has 3 different TOD typologies, with the most prolific in our portfolio being the adjacent TOD. We have multiple examples of this, with a recent example being Cedar Crossing at Roosevelt Station. But with the substantial increase in TOD opportunities along the West Seattle and Ballard Link extensions and the high cost of land along those 2 extensions, the agency is expanding its TOD department and exploring joint development in the form of air rights and integrated development. Air rights development is building on top of stations. Typically, that overbuild is not structurally related to the station below. Several examples exist in our system of this, with 2 of them being at Symphony Station and Westlake Station. A more complicated version of air rights is integrated development. Again, that's building on top of the station or transit facility, This one is structurally integrated with what is below, and we have one example of that at the U District Station, the Gateway Building. Next slide, please. This is an image of the Gateway Building. You can see the U District Station South entrance in the foreground at the right, and then this 12-story office building that the University of Washington owns above that. The U District Station was designed to structurally support the building on top. So why would we want to do more of this? Well, in dense urban areas, such as where the West Seattle and Ballard Link extensions are running, building over our stations enables us to meet the ETOD policy goals that were established in 2018. And in addition to meeting these goals, the agency can capture some of the value that is being created from the transit facility by building over the light rail station. Next slide, please. To achieve the best TOD outcomes, you need to start thinking about them early in the planning and design process, which is how the ST3 projects have approached TOD. At the beginning of the planning process, you conduct an analysis to help inform the station locations. This leads to planning and design work that informs the station footprint. From there, the station design starts to define potential TOD sites. And with potential TOD sites identified, then you can study the feasibility of TOD at particular sites and test fit them for what's possible. This is the process we've taken for West Seattle and Ballard. Next slide, please. We developed a work plan to explore joint development opportunities, with a portion of the work being paid for with a grant we received in 2023 from the Build America Bureau. We've advanced overbuild TOD conceptual design at 6 stations in collaboration with the transit project teams. We've explored different building types, massings, and structural systems to understand how this impacted the station below. We also worked to understand the cost for realizing joint development, as well as the value we're unlocking with overbuilding. Since joint development is new to the agency, we partnered with the Urban Land Institute, or ULI, to engage real estate industry professionals to provide insight on questions we were asking ourselves during the conceptual design work. The last component of our work plan is developing a business plan for joint development, which will look at TOD partnering approaches and funding strategies. Next slide, please. Through our industry and through our design and industry engagement, we've been able to illuminate challenges of overbuilding early in the design process, so we have the benefit of time to methodically work through the issues. The biggest challenges we've identified are that designing for and constructing the enabling infrastructure does cost money. The agency has a variety of goals it wants to achieve, so a second challenge is achieving these goals while keeping projects within budget. These enabling infrastructure costs can't be deferred, so the agency would need to include this in the budget, which is constrained. A third challenge is the differing timelines of a transit project and a typical development. Our transit projects typically take over a decade to design and construct, while a typical developer timeline is 3 to 5 years. And earlier, I discussed the variety of benefits of pursuing joint development, which means there's also a variety of ways the agency can define the success of these opportunities. Joint development provides an opportunity for value capture, in addition to contributing to a vibrant, dense urban environment with easy access to high-quality transit and housing. All of these challenges that we've identified are solvable, and by doing early design and engagement work, we do have the benefit of time to work through this. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, we've partnered with ULI to convene 5 technical assistance panels, or TAPs. The TAPs have provided an opportunity to engage real estate industry professionals on how the agency can better realize joint development. We completed our 5th TAP last week, and in addition to the TAPs, we're planning on hosting a developer forum later this year. Next slide, please. For each TAP, we've asked different questions. The TAPs have included the whole gamut of the real estate industry, And engaging these professionals over the last year has allowed us to learn from them, as well as to educate them on the projects that we're trying to realize. Most of the participants have been local, but we've been fortunate to have panelists from Oregon, the East Coast, as well as 2 international panelists on our TAPs. To date, we've engaged with nearly 100 people in the development community. Next slide, please. With the TAPs completed, we've seen some consistent themes coming out. The first is that the development community sees opportunities to partner with us on these overbuilds and sees the value in the infrastructure being designed to accommodate that. With the different design and construction timelines, as I mentioned earlier, the panelists did encourage Sound Transit to bring a development consultant on board to provide input during final design. To maximize value and development density, the panelists strongly encouraged Sound Transit to reduce risk and complexity for both the development partners and the agency where possible. Doing this will help the agency attract a strong development partner and maximize value for both parties. One way to minimize risk is for a future developer is for Sound Transit to work with the city now on any zoning and code adjustments to increase certainty for the future partner. And the last key theme is to plan for a sequential delivery of the station overbuild, meaning completion of the station construction prior to starting construction of the overbuild. Decoupling the two reduces the risk for both sides. It also offers flexibility for the overbuild to be constructed when the market conditions are right, which may not be when the transit project is being constructed. Next slide, please. In summary, through the work we've done to date, we know it's possible to overbuild our stations and know the industry is interested in partnering with us on these overbuild opportunities. Being ambitious and realizing these opportunities does require money to be spent upfront on design and construction of the enabling infrastructure, though. Designing for this enabling infrastructure during preliminary engineering and final design is an efficient use of the agency's time and money. Whether to actually construct the enabling infrastructure or not is a future decision that can be made once construction is closer. There's more time to do work on the design and understand the cost implications better. Planning for these joint development opportunities as a sequential delivery does mean the agency won't realize the value capture until into the future. Last slide, please. We have an immense amount of work ahead of us to make joint development a reality, and we continue to advance the design work and coordinate with the transit project team. As we advance the design, we'll continue to engage with ULI. As I mentioned, we have a developer forum later this year. Through the design work, we'll continue to look for ways to minimize cost and reduce risk. And we have a partnership with the city that we will continue as we look to get more clarity on entitlement and permitting processes. Up next, with the completion of our TAP work, we'll look to develop financing strategies for this enabling infrastructure, different opportunities to fund that. And as I said, we'll be developing a business case for joint development. In the future, we'll look to put together different partnering approaches. And then, as always, we'll continue to engage the board on this work. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
All right, thank you very much. It's a really fascinating opportunity, and I think we could do a lot of good with this program. The big challenge is going to be to balance our funding priorities and make sure that we're investing in ways that enable the system to be all it can be while still delivering on the system itself. So that's I'm excited about it and look forward to continuing to work with you all. Any other comments or questions? Board Member Burney.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for the presentation. I know it's top of mind for a lot of us, or all of us, that when we build transit, we want to ensure that people can live and do other things around there. So I appreciate the presentation. In the future, I'd love to hear a little more about, when I think TOD, I usually think housing, but I think it's important to think about what else community spaces and things like that, what other opportunities there could be around that. So would just in the future love to hear a little more as well as we continue through this process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That brings us to the end of our reports. We have no executive session. Under other business, I just want to correct a mistake. I left out a report that I should have made during the chair's report. This week, last week was the annual WTS Women in Transportation Seminar annual event. It's always very well attended, including by people from Sound Transit and Metro and community transit and all over. And this year, for the first time, they offered a scholarship in the name of a former employee of Sound Transit, Jamae Hoffman. And I think many of us got to work with Jamae, who unfortunately passed away untimely and was just a wonderful, wonderful person to work with. And the WTS Puget Sound chapter has established a scholarship in her name to motivate women and non-binary persons to pursue career paths related to sustainable, climate-friendly urban transportation. And if you will just indulge me for a quick minute, I want to just share what they said about her at the event. They said Jamae Hoffman dedicated her entire career and a significant percentage of her unrelenting life energy to advancing sustainable, climate-friendly urban transportation solutions. This included high-impact stints as executive director of the Transportation Choices Coalition, sustainable transportation and climate change lead at the Seattle Department of Transportation, and development manager at Sound Transit, where she led the complex effort to extend light rail to Federal Way and the east side of Lake Washington. In addition, Jamae was an avid cyclist and a passionate advocate for active transportation. She also served as president of coolmom.org, was a board member at BikeWorks, in addition to supporting many other civic and community initiatives. And they've established this scholarship specifically to acknowledge a student's potential to take a leadership role in advancing sustainable, climate-friendly transportation solutions. It was just very lovely to have a moment to honor Jamae in this way, and I just wanted to share that back with you all because she was truly a wonderful and very effective member of Sound Transit's team for a long time. All right, with that, we have come to the end of our agenda. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 8th from 1:30 p.m. to 4:00 p.m. The meeting will take place in the Ruth Fisher boardroom and virtually via Zoom. The link to join the virtual meeting will be provided on the Sound Transit website and on the meeting agenda. And with nothing else to become before us today, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.